ideas create reality. And if you keep listening to the same ideas over and over again, that becomes your reality. People like Hitler and Manson had some pretty disgusting ideas, didn't they? But they never held a gun in their hands or a knife in their hands, did they? It was their ideas that radicalized people. So what I am against is radicalizing a demographic against another demographic. For instance, I've had to recently disavow my association with the red pill community. In the beginning, it was empowering and woke, if you want to call it that, enlightening, blinders taken off my eyes about the way things are in the world, mainly just life. For instance, to be red-pilled, like I've said, like everything that I learned about nutrition and food was wrong. Everything I learned about money was wrong. Everything I learned about relationships was wrong. Everything I learned growing up about politics was wrong. So when you get red-pilled about politics, red-pilled about money, red-pilled about relationships, you love that new teaching. It makes you feel alive. And then I saw that being red-pilled was being used in the intergender dynamics world. And it was the what I would call the weaponization of the red pill, which causes literally men to, I'll use their words, to see women how they really are. And of course I'm going to be called beta, blue pill, white knight, Captain Save-A-Ho, all the ridiculous words, the glossary, which I'm moving away from the glossary. I'm glad. I spent 2 years inside the red pill, only to, and very quiet, just observing. I've been written off as an old man, crazy, traitor. Big deal. I've been called worse. But on top of that, I've also been threatened. People sending me pictures of a gun pointing right at me. People saying, we're going to have a little visit, face to face. Threats like that from men in the red pill movement. So I started referring many of these threats to the FBI and Homeland Security for my safety and the safety of my family. And you know the channels I'm talking about. You just feel like crap after you listen to them. They're people that just don't take responsibility for their own life. Instead, they got to blame it. Because if your misery is because of someone else's nature, then you never have to take full extreme responsibility for the dark times in your life. It's always someone else's fault. Always. When you see, like for instance, if you are separated or divorced, yes, it takes two people. It does. One counselor said to me many years ago, and I am a counselor. That's what I did for a living. And so it was a counselor seeing a counselor said to me, in time you'll start to see the role that you played in the demise of your marriage. Because for the longest time, I felt somewhat victimized, but I know the role that I played. I know. I can, if I'm honest with myself. I can blame half of it on her and half of it on me. And when it comes to her, my ex, it's the way she reacted to some of the things, and then the way that I reacted, and then it just becomes a cycle where nobody wins, and the family ends up losing, and everybody loses a lot of their heart and their money and so forth. But that was 15 years ago. A man who doesn't learn things after 15 years is just doomed to repeat them over again. So obviously, the first 5 years were very difficult for me. And then my eyes started being opened and accepting the reality of things. one of those things is that the roads in Pennsylvania are so bad. You know, I've lived here for a while. This is my primary residence. Florida is my secondary residence. But I will tell you, the worst roads, as I've driven around the country, are Pennsylvania. I've never seen worse roads, yet we are taxed pretty high. And mechanics make a lot of money on alignment and tires and tie rods and steering mechanisms and suspension, that kind of thing, because these roads really blow. But let's go back to the red pill and what it is. Is it okay to have your eyes open for things? Absolutely. That's not an issue. How does one get radicalized when listening to the red pill stuff that's designed for men? How does that happen? Men are sad with their grief. They get very sad. Men feel very, what's the word? They're let down. Certain authors will talk about an idealism, an idealistic love. Of course, who doesn't have that? Or who didn't have that at one time? And the reality is, that's why we have elders. That's why we have older people to talk to. That's why we have channels like mine. So you can listen, men and women. Now, the ones that are designed for men, here's the problem with those. They end up putting down women to the point where you view all women like that. You might have had a crappy experience and a sad experience, but sadness and grief is pretty darn strong, isn't it? It keeps you from eating, it keeps you from sleeping. Sadness and grief is very difficult, and there's many stages, many layers of it. And the only thing that can minimize that to just a little bit is anger. 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 Watch. I'm sad. It hurts. I don't feel good. Compare that to, I'm angry. I'm tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. See what I'm saying? See the difference between the two? One is, I'm sad, I'm tired, I'm disappointed, I'm discouraged. The other one is, huge, big, includes all the emotions. This is my contention. Anger is the only emotion strong enough to be a band-aid for sadness and grief. And this is why I've been attacked on a regular basis, because I'm coming against this. And what happens is, I'm the one that's saying, go ahead, be sad. Be sad. Live it, experience it. It will end. It's a storm that will pass over you. There are other people that are saying, be angry. And what happens is, anger ends up becoming a drug like alcohol. I remember the first year after divorce, I didn't touch alcohol. I didn't even toast at my brother's wedding because I said, I do not want to even, I want to feel the grief, feel the hurt, and not, I don't need a crutch. I don't need a patch. It was like in the movie Platoon when that guy got shot and he was screaming because he got shot in the torso. And as long as he was screaming, he was going to let the whereabouts of his battalion of men, I don't know what the military terms are, of his group of men in the jungle, he would end up drawing fire from the enemy because he was screaming in pain. And his commander came over to him and said, take the pain, take the pain, take the pain. And the guy was like, And the commander's like, take the pain, take the pain, take the pain. And the man who got shot was just breathing heavy and no longer yelling and drawing fire upon them. So, for someone who's in pain, boy, it hurts me to say this, and I hesitate. But take the pain. You will draw more fire upon yourself and attract negative attention to yourself if you bleed out loud, if you bleed on the internet. So take the pain, but here's the thing. Some people don't do that. What they do is they want to use the anger response, which is part of grief. Think about it. If you know anything about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she talks about the 5 stages of grief, which are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. And what happens is many of the red pill guys, they're going through that cycle of grief. There's not a, think about this. There's not a red pill man, not a single red pilled man or in the manosphere that isn't sad or hurt. There's not. Because the entrance fee to get into the red pill is trauma, chaos, pain, sadness, negative events. They are what I would call the antecedent events. And then the red pill is your behavior, and then there's consequences that happen. So just think ABC, antecedent, event, behavior, and then consequences. But as you're going through the cycle of denial, anger, bargaining, that whole scenario of the stages of, just look it up, the 5 stages of grief. Google that, 5 stages of grief. What happens is certain teachers will tell people they do not allow them to cycle through all the stages of grief. And what happens is it's easy to stop at anger because you get a lot of attention with anger. You get people rallying with anger. You literally, excuse me while I'm watching traffic here on my way to work this morning, you literally will get support from people who support your anger. And listen, and not relief from the anger, and not solutions to the anger. So guess what? Now you are 2 or 3 problems removed away from your original grief, your original sadness. Because when you're sad and in grief, think about it. Think about your body, all right? You're weak. You're weak. I'm sad. I'm sad. I'm sad. I know. I cried a river for a long time. I'm sad. Think about this. Sadness makes you small. You get shriveled up. You curl up into physical or mental fetal position. Anger makes you feel like you're alive, doesn't it? Anger takes you out of fetal position and makes you stand up tall. It makes your voice louder. You go from I'm sad to I'm angry. It makes you feel alive. Because when you're sad, you feel dead, or you feel the death spiral. People have said after divorce they feel like they're dying, men and women. So my contention is this, is that the red pill, in relationship to men, my observation is this: it has radicalized and hurt more men than it's helped. And in the same way, I can't see the wind, can I? But I can see trees blowing. And what is the conclusion I come to after I see trees bending? I go, wow, there must be some heavy wind there, okay? You can't see wind. You can only see the effects of the wind. I can't see the red pill, but I can see the effects of the red pill on the lives of people and how they react to me, the aggression, the violence. There's many people that come to me with, I'm sad, and that's okay. And because all lives matter, I handle with care, compassion. I am on the grounds of a hospital now. I can't really show you, where there are mass murderers, cult leaders behind bars, in prison for life. That's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm spending the next 5 days in training. Hold on. Can you see that right there? There's murderers in that building right there. That building right there. People who made stupid decisions, gave in to mental impulses, who killed people, multiple people. That's who I'm working with this week. Funny that I'm talking about that, about people who've been radicalized. Interesting, right? I'm at a training all week on that, as I'm entering back into my former field of therapy part-time and doing profiling. But I have people who come to me with, I'm sad. I'm sad. It's taken everything out of me. It's taken everything out of me. And then I get people who come at me saying, I'm angry, and your message is horrible. Threatening me, sending me pictures of guns pointed at me, this kind of stuff. And this happens on a daily basis. Since I have spent 2 years inside the red pill, I've met some of the most amazing men in my life and some of the most horrific men in my life. And just like the wind, I can't see the wind, but I can see its effects. I can't see the red pill, the concept, the idea. It's like the wind, it's like air, but I can see its effects. And I'm not liking it at all. Is there a way to incorporate healing to continue? Think about it. The entrance ticket to the red pill was pain, trauma, chaos. Is there an entrance ticket that doesn't have to be pain, trauma, and chaos? It's difficult, and I'll tell you why. Because sometimes, was it C.S. Lewis that said pain is God's bullhorn? You know, like that, attention, those bullhorn, megaphones, those things that you hold up to your mouth that project your voice to a crowd. Pain is God's megaphone. It's not the red pill's megaphone. So pain and suffering and grief and trauma and sadness might be a call to come to God, who has the answer. Some people are going to say, the God pill, I knew it was going to lead to that. No, not necessarily. Or it can lead to the red pill, which has no answers. It has an immediate answer because it allows you to be angry. I have no problem with anger. It's a natural human emotion. As I like to say, delay your emotions, don't deny them. But don't live in anger. Don't stop from denial, anger, bargaining, all that. Don't stop at anger. If you want to be angry, write, journal, pound your pillow, pound your mattress, go work out. Don't take it out on other men. Do not take it out on women or children. Don't live your life by your emotions. A lot in the men's community talk about stoicism. Stoicism is idealistic for a lot of men. They like the idea of it, but they can't appropriate it. They don't know how to use it. And I see a lot of men in the red pill community talking about stoicism, yet they are the most angry and violent men I've ever seen. And it's just a matter of time before this becomes well known. It's going to become well known. If you are sad, and the natural thing is to go to anger next, when you get to the anger stage, you can't skip the anger stage. It's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to act on it. Okay? All lives matter to me, to God, to you. And what I want you to do is keep that in mind, is that anger is the only emotion big enough to cover sadness. And anger makes you feel alive when you have felt dead and dying. Be aware of that. Now that you're aware of the dynamics, you might be able to do something about it. Many people teach where it just stops at the anger. And then you have to redefine the world and women and people, and you got to put men down that don't believe the way that you do. I want to hear your replies. Put them down below. Tell me what you think.